All right, well, welcome back. Now, this is our second video, and you've already become a rock star after viewing that video, or maybe you came in with a really good knowledge of PowerPoint. But now we're going to go from rock star, and we're going to become an all-star in PowerPoint. We're going to just show you a few other things to jazz up the PowerPoint we've created. Now, again, I have created a PowerPoint that is very simple for the purpose of this video. Most PowerPoints will be longer than 2 slides, but again, for this, we just want to show you what appropriate layout looks like. We want to show you some appropriate functions that you can use in PowerPoint. But most of your slides, PowerPoint presentations, will probably be longer than this, so just keep that in mind as we're going throughout. So again, one of the biggest things we want to keep driving home to everybody is the importance of formatting. And if you look at what I have here, you can see that again we have a dark background with light text. Dark background, light text. And that is so important because again, as soon as you make this dark, as soon as you make this text dark on a dark background, it's very hard to see. You can also make light backgrounds with dark colors. What I usually do in PowerPoints is actually, I don't even put a PowerPoint color in. I don't even put a background color in. I just use a white background and then I use some dark colored text. So it's called contrast, and you have to keep that contrast in mind when you're creating PowerPoints. They actually say that one of the worst colors to use in PowerPoints is red and anything that's really bright. For instance, if I go ahead and change this title here and I change it to bright red, on the surface, you look at it and you can say, well, I can see that, but if you actually stare at it for more than a few seconds, you might actually feel your eyes starting to get a little you might actually get like a little headache, or it might be really hard to look at. And even if you go to this really bright yellow, actually that yellow looks pretty good, but if you go to some really intense neon colors, let's see if I can find one here, like this green, again, you can see the color, but it's kind of hard on the eyes when you look at it after a while. So use some, use some colors that aren't as intense, so it's not as hard to look at. So avoid bright reds and really bright neon colors in PowerPoints. Okay. So using that, keeping that in mind, again, what we want you to be comfortable with as you now start to become an all-star in PowerPoint is jazzing it up and jazzing up the design. So if we go up here to our ribbon bar and we select the design group, one of the really neat things that you can do is you can actually add a theme. And PowerPoint makes this really easy for you to do because they've actually created some preset or pre-designed PowerPoint themes. So you don't actually have to go through and format the whole thing. You can just pick these themes. And so when I go up here, if I click on this bottom right arrow, these are the themes that have been created. And if I take my mouse and I drag over it, oops, actually selected one. If I take my mouse and drag over it, you can see that the PowerPoint has already started to change. One thing to keep in mind is when you look at these themes, so for instance, the solstice theme, when you look at it, you can see that there's a block of colors here that is coming up. And this block of colors is what's called the color theme. And so as soon as you select this theme, these are the main colors you should use because they go well with the color style. So I actually just happened to pick this one. And I actually think this is a pretty cool style. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick it. And so what you can see, if you look over here in my slide view, you can see that not only has this title slide changed, but the second slide has changed as well. And it'll give you a separate title slide and additional slides as you move on. So this is actually really good. If you see this, if you look at this, you can see that my text has been outlined in a bright color to contrast with the dark background. And this second slide has become really well organized. Remember, we want bulleted lists. We don't want paragraphs. And I'm just going to go ahead and shrink that graphic a little bit. And you can see that it fits very well. So I'm actually going to keep this theme, but these themes are a great idea for you to use if you want to jazz it up a little bit. There's also different theme colors that you can work off of, different fonts, and so a lot of different styles that you can play around with, but again, we encourage you to use those themes. Okay. And just as a review from last time, now that we've showed you these themes, remember, always do lists of information, short phrases, short facts. Don't put your whole presentation on this PowerPoint. We just want to know important information. So you don't go ahead and write a large paragraph for this because then the audience is going to have to read it and we won't pay attention to you. It's always good too, and one thing I like to do when I'm doing PowerPoints is to highlight main words. So if I say we learn about science and technology, I might go up here and I might just go ahead and make that bold, underline it, and make it italicized so those words stand out. And maybe the other thing I really like is that we get to complete a lot of projects. I'm going to go ahead and make that stand out too, so the audience knows that those words are really important to me. Okay. And again, just one other review. Remember, we want you to get in the habit of using different slide layouts too. So if I go ahead, and if I want to go ahead and select and create a new slide, just remember these layouts have been pre-created for me. Now actually, in the next video, how to become a PowerPoint superstar, we're going to actually show you how to embed a video. But what I'm going to go ahead is, I'm going to go ahead and insert a slide with a different style that I'll use later. And so I'm going to insert this one that says content with caption. Okay. Now you can see that again we have these buttons here that you can select to insert different features in the PowerPoint. So I'm going to keep this in to use at a later time. But again, use these different layouts, and these layouts have already been created for you. Now let's say I want to go ahead and create a layout on a blank slide. How would I go ahead and do that? Well, what PowerPoint allows you to do, if you go up to the Insert tab, is you can go ahead and insert a lot of these features. For instance, one of the things I'm going to want to insert right away is a text box. So if I go to Insert and I select Text Box, I can go ahead and drag the text box across. I'll just put the title right here. I'm just going to title it Y-STEM Graphics. So you can see that I've just created a text box for that. And feel free to go ahead and do this if you don't want to use a pre-designed layout. You can insert all of these different things. You can insert shapes as well. And so maybe I want to go ahead and I just want to find a simple star. And I want to put this star in the upper corner here. I can go ahead and do that. And then as soon as I get this, maybe I want to go ahead and if I right click on this and select Format Shape, I can change the color. So again, we want to change the fill for this. I'm going to select yellow and we're going to close it. So again, you can design your own layouts if you want to. For this presentation, I'm not going to, but feel free to do so if you'd like. So I'm just going to go ahead and select it. And to get rid of a slide, you can always go over, select it, and hit the delete button. All right. Now that we kind of have our basic framework, another way that you can jazz it up and really make it an all-star presentation is to work on the fine-tuning of this presentation. One of the things you can do is work on slide transition. A transition is what happens when you go from one slide to the next. So right now, if we were to go into our slideshow presentation and take my right arrow here and go down, if I go ahead and select this, all that happens right now is I click on it, and it changes. It just appears out of nowhere, and the same thing for this slide as well. But I want to jazz it up, and I want to put in what's called a transition in. And so what I'll do is I'm going to select the transition button, and let's say, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the slide I'm transitioning to. So for this one, I want to transition from slide 1 to slide 2. And when I go in the transition group, you can see that I have a bunch of different options for transitioning. I'm going to go ahead and select Vortex. You can see as soon as I select that, it transitions to it. So now when I go and I press my mouse button, it goes and it transitions into that slide. So I'm going to go ahead and select this slide and add a different transition. We're just going to go ahead and select Shape. So now when I go ahead and preview my presentation, it will transition from there to slide 2 using that transition, and then it will slide from there to there using that transition as well. So again, a lot of different things you can use, you can do for your transitions. One of the things you can do is instead of making this, making the transition occur when I click on my mouse, the other thing I can do is I can program this up here for it to happen like after 5 seconds. So maybe instead of programming it to go on the mouse click, I'm going to have the transition go after 4 seconds. So it's going to advance the slide after 4 seconds and it will run automatically. So that's something that you can play around with at your own leisure. So those are transitions. Encourage you to really look at those. There's also effect options up here. that'll be specified for the specific transition that you use. So use those to really jazz it up. The other thing we're going to talk about very quickly is going to be using animation for graphics and text. One of the things you can do is animate objects. And to show you how to do that, we're going to go up here to our animations group, and I'm going to go ahead and select this object right here. Now, again, I don't want this picture to just appear, because if you look at what happens, right now it is just appearing. So instead of doing that, I want this to just come in when I want it to. So what's going to happen is I'm going to select on this object, and I'm going to select on our animation features here, an animation that I want it to have happen. So let's say I want it to bounce in. Okay, so now when I go to my preview here, and the slide appears, the picture hasn't appeared yet. Well, what needs to happen is I have to click my mouse and it will activate the picture and it will bounce in. Okay, now let's say, let's say that I want this picture to occur right away, okay, and not on the mouse click. Because right now, if you click on this and I go up to my grouping here, it says it's going to start the animation on my mouse click. That I don't want to have happen. I want it to happen right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here, select my picture, and where it says start, I'm going to select after previous. So I'm going to go, I'm going to preview. The slide is, I'm going to go and do this instead. And the slide is coming in, and automatically the picture has bounced in. So you need to decide how do you want to have different animations occur. If I want a second animation to occur, I would select it. So let's say I want the top 5 reasons to come in after the graphic. You can see that there are numbers here. This means that this is number 1, and this is going to be number 0. Number 0 means that it happens right away, and then this is going to be the second graphic that comes in. So what's going to happen is I am going to go ahead and preview this now. And that's going to come in automatically. And then when I'm ready, I'll click my mouse and the top 5 reasons will come in. So this is really up to you, however you want to order your animations. Again, you can select this and you can program it to happen after the previous animation occurs. So if I click this now, the slide is going to come in, and the first animation will occur, and then the second animation will occur. So again, this is really up to you how you want to program these animations, but go ahead and add some animations to it, animate your text, animate your graphics. There are a lot of options here for you to do. All right, and lastly, in our all-star presentation, we're going to quickly add some sound. Now, sound can really enhance it, but we encourage you and warn you that you don't want to always use a lot of sound, because sound can take away from your presentation. If your whole presentation is nothing but sound, people really won't even listen to you because they're going to be listening to the sound. So what we want you to do is you're going to go up to Insert, and this is your ribbon bar area for insert, where you can insert different objects, different graphics, all of those things. We're going to go ahead and insert some audio. I'm going to go ahead and select that menu. Now, you can do a few different things with audio. The first thing you can do is audio from file. Okay? If I go ahead, and what this is going to do is this is how you would enter or insert a song into your presentation. So I really like the song Blue Rondo a la Turk. I'm going to select it. Now notice the file. It has to be an MP3 or any other type of audio file. Actually, if you take your mouse and scroll down here, you can see all the different audio files. But I'm going to go ahead and insert. And this is if you download a song. You go onto iTunes, go onto Amazon, and you download some music. Okay. Now you can see that when this happens, you are going to get a play panel right here. And you can go ahead and click play, and the music will actually play. Now, we're not going to go into all the nuances and all the little things you can do with music. However, if you look at this, as soon as you inserted this audio, there is a playback feature up here in the audio group, and this appeared when the audio appears. So if I click playback, you're going to see a few things. You're going to see things like the volume. How loud do you want this music to play back? you're going to see fancy things you can do with fading in and out or the effect of the music. You can trim the audio, so if you only want a certain portion to play, you can do that. And then you can program when you want it to play. Maybe you only want this to play on this slide. Maybe you want the music to play across all your slides. Maybe you want it to play continuously until your presentation is done, in which case you would pick loop until stop. Again, this is really up to you, and you can play around with this when you insert music, but this is how you would actually insert music into your presentation. Now, I'm going to go ahead and undo that. I'm going to go ahead back up here to insert sound, insert audio, and there are a few more things you can do. Clip art audio. Some of you know that there are different little sounds that PowerPoint already has uploaded. So as soon as I pick clip art audio, there's a few that's here. There's a claps. So if I go ahead and insert this and I drag it over here, this is going to be the sound of people clapping. And you can pick a bunch of different music. You can go and search in here just like you would for clip art. So you can always use clip art sound as well. And the last type of sound is you can actually record yourself in PowerPoint. And so if I go to audio and I pick record sound, you can go ahead and hit the record button, and it will record you talking. It will record whatever sound. It's kind of like it's just recording and you're narrating, and this is great for narrating a PowerPoint. So 3 options to record sound. Now, this has been how to create a all-star PowerPoint presentation. Went through a lot of things. Again, remember, you can go down to your panel down here, and you can pick your PowerPoint button, and you will be able to go ahead and preview what you've done so far. You can see what we've done with our graphics, and you can see what we've done there with our title slide, and now we're going to go ahead and use this slide for our next one. So again, this was how to create an all-star presentation. Last but not least, we're going to now venture into how to create a superstar, awesome, amazing PowerPoint.